You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you?
It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Monday, December 1st. The month of December is officially here. And if you look outside, it looks like December. If you look up December weather in the dictionary, you see snow everywhere. Some of us got 9 to 12, 13 inches of snow this past weekend. More coming tonight, I guess, in the Quad City area. Another 2 or 3 inches as well. So welcome to winter. It feels like just a couple weeks ago we were talking about how warm it still was. But hopefully everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. And thanks for joining us here on a Monday. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. Make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, do so. If you have, thank you. Tell a 10 or tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing each and every day here in the Quad Cities. Or every weekday, I should say, a bunch of sports and a little bit more every weekday as well. If you're watching us on X, we appreciate that. X has been very, very good to us as well. Make sure you're partaking in the show as well, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on X. Give us your feedback. The chat up and going on the YouTube channel as well. So a lot to talk about. So many different sports and different things to get to today. So a jam-packed show. This show will take us the 2 hours. We will be here with you until noon because we have a lot to get to on today's show as well. If you're watching us or listening to us, I should say, on any podcasting platform, thank you for that. You can check out the show there as well. You don't got to look at me. You can listen to us as well. Check it out on Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, Apple, anywhere you get your podcast, put in Off Day with Matt Randazzo, and you can check out the show audio-wise as well there. And also a welcome and happy December to our viewers in Central Iowa as well. You can check out the show each and every night on the WHO streaming app at 7 p.m. So thank you for doing that. A lot to get to when it comes to the Iowa side of the river and the state of Iowa coming up on today's show and throughout the week. So thank you for locking in and watching and your feedback as well. What a weekend it was in the world of sports. So many things we're going to get to. The Bears are the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. That's right, I said it. And I didn't vomit when I said it. So that's a breakthrough for me. The Bears are the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. If you would have told me this is what was going on, I would have said, well, Caleb Williams is a star. And it's not been that. It's been a different way of doing it, running the football, all of those kind of things. We'll talk about the Bears coming up later on in the show as well. Iowa, Iowa State, and Illinois all won college football-wise. They're all going to bowl games. They're all 8-4. It's kind of crazy to think about. They're all 8-4. So our 3 local teams that we talk about a lot on the show, 8-4. They won their final game. We'll talk bowl predictions and where they may be going throughout the week and a little bit today on the show as well. The coaching carousel in college football is wild. We got Lane Kiffon officially in LSU, $13 million a year. Still doesn't understand why he can't finish things out at a rival school and see if he can win a national championship there first before he goes to the rival and takes over there. So a little bit about that throughout the show. How about Pat Fitzgerald coming back and maybe taking over at Michigan State? We'll talk more about that as well. So a lot to get to. The Illinois State Championships in football. Half of them are half of them are done. The other half to go. We'll talk about a crazy weekend down in Bloomington. So a lot to get to throughout the show. Coming up onto today's show, guest-wise, no Pat Angered today. I know all these people were clamoring, wanting to see our good friend Pat Anger dealing with some back stuff today. So we're going to see if we can get him fixed. We'll reschedule him for later in the week. But never fear, we got a lot to get to besides Pat. We'll talk more about Pat in a little bit as well. But the Iowa women picked up a big victory yesterday against Fairfield. And you'd think, well, it's Fairfield, so is it a big victory? Yes, and our good friend Kyle Huesmann had been telling us since the start of the season, Fairfield is one of the best mid-major teams in the country. They showed it yesterday at Carver Hawkeye. The Iowa Hawkeyes still won by 14. Kyle Huesmann in a matter of moments to talk about that, and a little football as well with Kyle Huesmann. Also, it was a record-setting weekend high school basketball-wise at Rock Island High School. Deven Marshall, a junior guard for the Rocks, set a school record with 53 points in a game. Now, that's impressive at any school, but we're talking about Rock Island High School here. We're talking about Pete Michael and Monte Jenkins and Tyler Hall and the GOAT personally when it comes to, when I look at Rock Island basketball, Chase and Randall and others. Amari Nimmers had the record at 45. It is a basketball-rich school with individual talent and winning, and Deven Marshall broke the record, shattered it by 8 points. So he's coming up later on in hour number 1. We'll talk to the Rock Island Junior as well. We're going to catch up with Greg Armstrong in the second hour of the show from View from the West, kind of look back at Lena Winslow winning a state championship, Byron in the 3A state championship game, which if you didn't see on television, go watch it today. Go watch it this week sometime. One of the best high school football games you'll ever see, especially in 3A. Byron won that. Familiar for Hawkeye fans, their defensive coordinator is Sean Considine, former Iowa great. His son, Caden Considine, who's a senior, is a really good football player. Did a lot of great things on both sides of the football. So we'll talk about that and then the rescheduling of the 5A to 8A state championship games. Greg Armstrong coming up. And we'll also look back at our area when it comes to a few headlines from the world of high school football from our area as well. So that's coming up in hour number 2. And then it's Monday, which means it's a Marksy Monday. John Marx, my good friend, former longtime columnist in the Dispatch and Rock Island Argus and been calling games for Mediacom Channel 22 for over 20 years. We'll talk everything. We'll talk Bears. We'll talk college football, everything in between as we look back at a crazy weekend in the world of sports here in the Quad Cities and then throughout the nation as well. And if you had to, for me, you look at it for Saturday and I probably would have had 5 or 6 youth basketball games to go to. And I do enjoy them. I'm not complaining about them. But it gave me the chance, and I hope everybody else did as well, to just stay inside, watch football, watch basketball, spend time with family, decorate for Christmas, all those kind of things. It kind of gave the Randazzo family a chance to turn back the clocks when we weren't as busy, and we could, get ready for Christmas and all those kind of things, put up the Christmas tree. My wife and kids, on Friday, I had to get up to Big Grove to do the Iowa pregame show for the radio. And so my wife and kids, after my son's basketball game, went and got a Christmas tree, and they cut it down every year. I'm a fake tree guy. I have been since my whole life, but since I've been married, we've done the real Christmas tree. They did an awesome job. Our tree is a rock star downstairs. It's awesome. So hats off to them as well. So hopefully everyone enjoyed their weekend. A few other quick things to talk about before we get to Kyle. As I mentioned, Lane Kiffon is officially the coach at LSU. $13 million a year for that. We're wishing our good friend Pat Anger a little good luck, a little get well soon messages to him. Got a bad back right now, so you can't keep that guy down. He'll be back and rocking and rolling here real soon. And then also, today is Cyber Monday. One of our great sponsors is Hungry Hobo, and I realize this. You can get 11% off your order at Hungry Hobo today by using the app or the website. So 11% off, celebrating Cyber Monday. As you know, Hungry Hobo, a great sponsor of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Also an amazing sponsor of our Nest Gas competition, which, Ness, if you're watching, here I come. Had a good week. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. But go, and if you're wanting to get something, today is a perfect day for a grilled chicken sandwich and a chicken tortilla soup. Like, look outside. And then add the cheese fries, the waffle fries on there as if you can as well. And you're set for your Monday. So take advantage of that if you can. So we got a lot to get to. We talked a lot of football, but basketball-wise, the Iowa Hawkeyes, the Lady Hawkeyes, did survive against a very good Fairfield team, and that's exactly where we start. So we start our Monday with a familiar face. Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us. And Kyle, you told us, you warned us, Fairfield's a good basketball team. They proved it at Carver Hawkeye yesterday.
Yeah, and I tried to. I think I said it on here. I said it on I probably said it on the podcast with Tom. I tried to tell everybody that would listen. And going back really to when the game was scheduled. And I don't blame people. You hear Fairfield, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know where Fairfield is or who they are, and then you hear the Metro Atlantic Conference, and you assume that that's really bad, and that it's going to be similar to some of the other Iowa games this year where they've won by 30, but. Fairfield's a really good program. I think they're 59-7 over the previous 2 years, made a couple NCAA tournaments. They're a team that's going to be a 12-13 seed in the NCAA tournament. And if they, a little undersized, they didn't rebound well against Iowa, but if they play anywhere near like they did yesterday against Iowa, they are absolutely a team that's capable of knocking off a team at the NCAA tournament and knocking them off on someone's home floor. But yeah, that was a really good test. And, they played Baylor, they played Miami, but a good test against the mid-major to kind of face that team that shoots a lot of threes. Maybe still it doesn't have the size to go up against you, but just kind of a different test to go up against. And there were certainly some things that stood out throughout the game that maybe Iowa needs to get a little bit better at. But I mean, a 14-point win over Fairfield, it's not that type of game that you look back on and you go, oh, the big win over Fairfield. But by the time we get to March, Fairfield's going to roll through the Metro Atlantic and probably win all those games. That's going to end up looking like a pretty good win when you get down to March.
Usually giving up 18 3-pointers is a recipe for defeat, and Iowa still won by 14. Why were they able to survive that kind of shooting and not just win? And I won't say it was a comfortable win, but I mean, it got within 8, I think, a few times in the fourth quarter, but I don't think at any point past halftime, Iowa fans were too worried about winning the game. So how was Iowa able to withstand 18 made threes from Fairfield?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things when you look at the final stat sheet, and I should go on record and say that if you would have told me Fairfield was going to make 18 threes, I probably would have thought Iowa lost. Because that was kind of one of my big things coming in is, hey, Fairfield averages 11.5 threes a game. Not going to say that I thought they couldn't be a team that could make 15 in a game. And we had talked about Iowa's 3-point shooting, just a little inconsistent. And Chit Chat Wright had been one of those people that had shot the ball really well, and she was still out. So yeah, I would have figured that if they made 18 threes with Chit Chat out for Iowa, I would have thought Iowa made 7-8 threes maybe, and that would have been a giant gap to try to work through. Iowa got to the line a lot. Free throws were 26-5. But Fairfield's a team that really subscribes to that. Either score in the paint or shoot a 3-pointer. They're not a mid-range jump shot team. They very much subscribe. I think that's kind of an NBA thing now, where they kind of have gone away from the mid-range jump shot, and Fairfield really subscribes to that. So the problem for Fairfield is they were undersized. Maybe not undersized when they go up against their conference opponents, but they're not going to face Ava Hayden and Layla Hayes and Hannah Stolke on a single team in any of the conference games that they play. So they only ended up scoring 14 points in the paint. Took 39 3-pointers, which is 8 or 9 over their average per game. So I think you look at the 3-point shooting and you say that's a really big number. It tied a Carver record, men's or women's opponent, Iowa, tied a Carver record for most threes in a game. But Iowa was able to limit them in the paint and limit the free throws that they gave up, and that was ultimately the difference. And turnovers were tied 16-16. That was another thing that I said coming in was. Fairfield in their loss to North Carolina turned it over 25 times, and North Carolina turned it over 10 times. And their win over South Florida, they won the turnover battle and then made a bunch of threes as well. So it was one of those where if Iowa could keep the turnover battle at least close to the same or even win it, I figured they'd win on the glass by quite a bit, which they did 44-26. So Iowa just kind of did the rest of the stuff. They allowed Fairfield to make a bunch of threes and kind of did the rest of the stuff that they needed to win. And then Iowa made 10 threes, and Kylie Feuerbach comes out and has a really good day, makes 4 of them. Really happy for her, because someone that's been around a long time, played a lot of basketball, kind of in that undervalued position as a defensive player. And she'll have her game here or there where she makes some threes. But I thought made some critical threes in that game. The beginning of the fourth quarter, her and Taylor McCabe each make one to get Iowa's lead up to the largest, I believe 62-45. And as you mentioned, Fairfield comes back 9-2 run, knocked down 3 threes in the span of like 90 seconds. And it was 68-60. Iowa called a timeout. There's still 7 minutes left in the game. Fairfield's certainly capable of coming back still at that point. And they come out of the timeout, and Kylie Feuerbach hits 2 more threes, and it's all of a sudden it's back to 74-60. So really good for her to knock down some threes. And she mentioned it, she's in the gym working on her shot, basically every day. And it's one of those where when it's not going down in the game, it can get a little frustrating because that you've been in the gym, you've been putting in the work. But like I said, 4 threes in the second half, and I thought all of them were really critical to keeping Fairfield, at bay, because they ended up making 9 threes in the fourth quarter. So, if Iowa struggles at all shooting in the fourth quarter, Fairfield was making every shot and trying to make a comeback. So I thought her 3 threes in the fourth quarter were really critical. But like I said, I thought, 3-point shooting aside, I thought Iowa kind of controlled every other area. And like I said, turnover battle was huge with the 16-16 for both sides. I know Iowa would like to have it a few less, probably more around 12 or 13. But I thought every other category kind of went in Iowa's favor in the way that they needed to win the game.
Ava Hayden, I think, had 18 points, 16 rebounds, something like that. Obviously, you mentioned the size differential inside, but when you look at it, she's been doing this, well, I want to say all season, but she started doing it towards the end of last season. She's just, scraping the surface, I think, of what she can be as a finished product. Your thoughts of Ava Hayden and just a workman-like, 18 and 16, if there's such a thing, Kyle, but an impressive performance from her inside.
Yeah, it was a quiet 18 and 16, and I think her and Hannah combined for 31 points and 24 rebounds, so they did really well. But Ava, was 6 of 11 from the floor, and Jan mentioned it after the game, said I think it could have been 8 or 9 out of 11, just because maybe didn't do a move correctly that maybe they would have liked to clean up, or had a shot rim out. And you're not going to falter for having a shot rim out, but it's that next level. You go back to like a Monica Sonano or a Megan Gustafson. They didn't have many shots that rimmed out; they just went in. So that's the next step, is turning that 6 of 11 into an 8 or a 9 out of 11. And instead of 18 16, you have 24 and 16. And that's a big level to jump. That it's tough to sit there and look at 18 16 and go, you probably should have had 22 or 24 and 16. But did a good job. 6 of 8 from the free throw line, so that was good, because she's been one of those that's kind of been missing some early in the season. And certainly 16 rebounds. You're never gonna have any arguments with putting up 16 rebounds in a game. But yeah, I called it a little bit of a quiet game. I know Jeff Linder asked the question. He said it kind of felt like a quiet 18-16, and it did, because there were a couple spots where it's like that shot just rimmed out, and you feel like that could have went in. And obviously, with 6 free throws, those are kind of quiet points as well. But Jan mentioned, she thinks that she can have get better there and have an 8 or an 11 or an 8 or a 9 out of 11 night, and that's what they're going to try to see with her going forward, is trying to those rim outs need to turn into using the glass and finishing, or just getting them to go in, and that's the next level, is taking that jump from having a good shooting percentage and having an elite shooting percentage like a Monica Sonata or a Megan Gustafson did at Iowa.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us right now. Kyle, we looked at these new faces coming in, and obviously Chit Chat didn't play, but we were wondering, freshman-wise, which one would make the biggest impact on the season. And it was always like, we talk about Journey Houston as oh, by the way, Journey's talented. She's sitting behind, Hannah or whoever, and she might not make that big of an impact. Excuse me check me if I'm wrong, but I believe she played the most minutes of any freshman in the game yesterday. 20 minutes, 7 points, 5 or 6 rebounds. I don't got the box score in front of me. She just continues to make plays and impact the game in so many different ways when she gets in. Your thoughts on Journey Houston? We're biased. I'm biased. She's a Quad City girl, but she continues to play really good basketball for the Hawkeyes early on this season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our conversations before the season, I know they may have come off as like hey, she's not going to play, whatever. It wasn't really, the question was never, hey, is she not talented enough to play? Is she not ready to play? That stuff. We didn't know until she got out on the court if she was going to be ready to play. But it was more just like you look at some of the people that were returning, and her position. Obviously, you mentioned Hannah Stolke being there, and Tegan Mulaney was another one that was kind of like, she's in her sophomore year. Just where is Journey Houston's role going to be? Can she carve out a role? So I feel not necessarily bad, but it's one of those where I don't feel like we talked about her enough. But you're not going to talk about a full roster before the season. So she's just kind of one of those that was like, she's talented. Maybe she can carve out a role. We just need to see her on the court. And as you said, she just continues to do like little things. I mean, I look at 7.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover. I didn't know that was her stat line until after the game. It's just one of those where, she always is there to grab a rebound when she's in. She'll get a basket at the, she did have a quick stretch there in the second quarter, back-to-back buckets that tied the game. And I think Fairfield called a timeout when Iowa cut that. It was 22-11 Fairfield, and Iowa went on a 13-2 run. She had the last 2 baskets in that run. Fairfield called a timeout. But just does the little things. She'll get a couple of baskets. She'll have like a big assist on a 3-pointer. Had an offensive rebound that turned into a 3-pointer for Taylor McCabe, or I think it was Kylie Feuerbach that actually made the 3. But yeah, does a really good job with her minutes. I mean, 20 minutes and you talk about 7.6 rebounds and 3 assists. Over the course of a 40-minute game, that's 14 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. That's a really good per 40-minute game. So yeah, she continues to just kind of do those little things, and certainly the rebounding is huge because this is a really good Iowa rebounding team. And for her to be able to come in and grab 6-7 rebounds when she plays maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is a really big boost. And I should also mention Addie Deal. I thought she had a pretty solid game as well. Finished with 9 points, had an assist, a couple turnovers, but had a really big stretch there late in the first half. Taylor Stremlow gets that technical foul, and I thought the energy really ramped up inside the arena. The crowd got into it. It felt like Iowa had a little bit of momentum going, but then you looked at the scoreboard, and Iowa didn't, really have the momentum in terms of the score. And Addie Deal comes out and hits a 3-pointer to go up 39-33, and then gets a basket right at the buzzer, a pull-up mid-range jump shot at the buzzer, and Iowa goes into the half up 6. And you look back at the Taylor Stremlow technical, and after those technical free throws, Iowa outscored Fairfield 11-6 to end the half. And I know 11-6 doesn't feel like a giant run, but it was big to get some of that momentum going into the second half when you did trail by double digits at one point in the first half. So I thought Addie Deal had a good spot. And then Layla Hayes only played 6 minutes, but obviously, we've seen what she's been able to do in some other games. Obviously Ava Heiden's going to play a lot of minutes, and once we get into Big Ten play, bigger games and stuff like that, she ended up playing almost 34 minutes. But yeah, I think all the freshmen have made their impact known so far. And that's huge to have players that like a Jordan Houston come in and immediately do those little things, whether it's a rebounder or 2 or a big assist or make a little basket in there. And Layla Hayes with what she's been able to do to prove that she can be a backup. And then Addie Deal, I really think is starting to kind of settle down. I think over the last couple of games, and even going back to Florida, Jan mentioned that she felt like it looked like Addie was starting to get a little bit more comfortable, and that's huge. If they can rely on Addie Deal, it was 9 points, but like I said, a couple of big buckets late in the half, and if they can get her into that spot where she can average 8-9 a game and hit a couple of 3-pointers, hit a couple of big buckets, that just improves the scoring depth that this team already has.
Kyle Huesmann with us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. A few more women's basketball things. I want to talk a little football with you as well. You look at this team real quick. Chit chat, right? I know it's. I think it's Rutgers. Is it Sunday? Saturday. Rutgers on Saturday, and then Iowa State comes next week. Any thoughts, process when it comes to when we'll see Chit Chat back on the floor again? And that Iowa State game's looming. Any updates on what your thoughts are on when we see Chit Chat back on the court again?
Yeah, Iowa's kind of got a couple players out right now with Tegan Mullaney and Emily Rodriguez out right now. I would say just based on Jan's comments yesterday, and she didn't really give a lot. I think it's one of those where they're kind of it's kind of a day by day thing to see how they're progressing. It sounded like Chit Chat was closer than the other two. So it'll be one of those that we get to talk to Jan on Thursday on Zoom. So that'll be kind of when we get our update for the Rutgers game. I think Chit Chat's getting there. I don't necessarily know, when we got our first update, it was kind of an upper body, she said shoulders, neck, back, head, everything. But then Jan said something about, following the protocol yesterday, which leads me to believe that maybe it was a concussion. So not necessarily sure what the exact injury is because we haven't, gotten the specifics of it. But it certainly seems that Chit Chat's trending the right way. Now Rutgers is kind of a good Big Ten opener to have because they're one of the bottom of the standings teams. So I think it's still a game that if Iowa can get past Fairfield and they can get past Miami without Chit Chat, I think they can get past Rutgers as well and should be able to do it comfortably. So really you circle that Iowa State game and say that's when we want Chit Chat back. That's when they want Emily Rodriguez back, and if they can get Tegan Mullaney back as well. Sounds like Emily Rodriguez is dealing with a back issue. Jan mentioned that they're waiting for some results, so I don't know if they did some tests to see if she has a bigger injury or something like that. And then Tegan Mulaney, I believe it was said on the radio broadcast before the whatever game it was, the Western Illinois game, that she had her tonsils taken out. So a completely different thing that came from that ankle injury. So again, that's just kind of trying to recover from that. She wasn't at the Western Illinois game, was at the game yesterday, and Jan mentioned that she felt like that Tegan had a little bit more energy. Again, I don't think she's practiced yet. So again, and Emily Rodriguez has not practiced either. So they've got to get them back into practice whenever they're cleared to go. So I would say as of Monday morning, this is just a complete guess. So don't hold me to it. If anyone is going to play against Rutgers, I'd say it would be Chit Chat. I would probably expect Tegan and Emily Rodriguez to be out. Again, we'll get an update on Thursday morning from Jan to see if all three of them are going to be out, or if there's something with Emily that maybe has changed, or if Tegan's looking good. But right now, I'd say that Chit Chat's probably the closest to playing on Saturday. And then obviously, like I said, they're hoping that they can get all three back by the time they have to play Iowa State.
You mentioned Iowa State. I mentioned Iowa State. Audie Crooks. We need to mention it. We'll talk more about it with Jake Brent coming up on Wednesday for our Cyclone segment. Audie Crooks did it again. Broke her own record, 47 points yesterday, beating a good Indiana team as well in the process. That Iowa State game, and I know we talked about there's UConn coming, and we knew about the Baylor game early and Miami and all those kind of things. That Iowa State game, not that we overlooked it, because you never overlook Iowa State, but that's most likely a battle of unbeatens, a really good matchup inside especially. I don't want to get too far ahead because we'll talk about it next week, but man, watching what Audie Crooks did yesterday, that Iowa State game is going to be a good one, Kyle. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and obviously Iowa's got their Big Ten opener on Saturday with Rutgers out in Piscataway, and I think Iowa State's got Northern Illinois in their next one. So yeah, certainly both teams are going to be large favorites to get into that game. I think Iowa State would be 10-0 and Iowa would be 9-0. We'll see the AP poll, this morning or whatever. I think it's noon or 11 or something like that. Could very well be a battle of two top 10 teams. They could very well be top 10 coming today. Yeah. But certainly if they can both get wins this week, maybe a top 10 game. I don't know of a time that they've both been top 10. A couple of years ago when Iowa State came to Iowa City, I think Iowa State had lost an early game. They were ranked like 15th or something when Iowa was ranked 3rd. That was kind of the one that everybody thought could have been a top 10 matchup. But yeah, I mean, and you mentioned the Baylor game, and certainly that was a big game early, but neutral site, there was the injury and it was just such a low scoring game. It didn't feel like a big game, just because of the location and kind of some of that stuff. And certainly UConn will be a big game because it's UConn. So anytime you play UConn, that's considered a big game, whether you're the worst team in the country or the best team in the country. It's always a big game to play UConn. But yeah, if Iowa and Iowa State are both in the top 10, I mean, that's you talk about rankings wise, one of the bigger games in the rivalry. So that'll be a really fun one. And I think you talk about it, and like you said, I'm sure I'll be on here to talk about it next week as well. But Audie Crooks against Ava Hayden, Audie Crooks against Layla Hayes. I think Addie Brown against Hannah Stolke is going to be a fantastic matchup as well. Jada Williams at the point guard position for Iowa State, someone that Iowa looked at in the portal. That might be a Kylie Feuerbach matchup. So there's going to be matchups across the board that are going to be really fun. And I mean, if it's two AP top 10 teams, or even if it's AP top 15 teams, I mean, there's always matchups across the board to talk about for that game. But yeah, I mean, nice to see Iowa State, because I'm always rooting for the big game as well. So it's kind of nice to see Iowa State get those. I thought they would be undefeated, but for them to go out and get the win over Indiana and Iowa to kind of get through their matchups, it's going to be a fun one to preview and talk about and do all that stuff. And that's my favorite part, is those big games to, respectfully, Rutgers is not a game that I'm super excited. I mean, right in a preview, because it's just a game that I was expected to win. But you start talking about the Iowa States and the UConns. Those are the games that are exciting to talk about, because there's a lot of matchups to talk about, a lot of stuff to break down. So that'll be really fun. Next, I think it's next Thursday, right? Next Thursday names. Yeah,
the December 10th. My days are all messed up because I thought.
Or no, it's next. The 10th is Wednesday. It's Wednesday, Thursday. The men's game's on Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. So next Wednesday. So it should be rocking. Real quick before I let you go, a little Iowa football news. We were going to have Pat Anger on today, as always, but Pat's got a bad back. So we're sending flowers and Hardee's sausage biscuits and everything else that he loves in this world over to Pat today. We'll get him on later. But I want to talk about a few different things. We'll get to this year's team in a second. Over the weekend, Jackson Stratton goes into the transfer portal. Nothing earth-shattering. I don't think he was in the mix in the future. He wasn't in the mix in the future. But best of luck to him. And it reminds everybody, not that we needed a reminder, when you watch what's going on down in the SEC with all the craziness going on on with coaching, but it's and I think Kirk mentioned it on Saturday. He's going to start re-recruiting his kids. I guess first Jackson Stratton, a kid that started games when Iowa need to, and by all accounts, a really good kid. Him moving on, and then it's that time of year, Kyle, where you got to start re-recruiting your own, and things get funky in the world of college football.
Yeah, and for Jackson Stratton, I mean, like you said, not surprising that he's going to go. I mean, he was down the depth chart, and I think everybody thinks it's going to be Jeremy Hooklinski next year at the quarterback position, and Stratton would probably have been third or fourth again. So not surprising to see him go and try to find an opportunity somewhere else, and certainly a guy that he gets called upon, gets thrust into the role last year, and was 2-0. I mean, what was he last year on the depth chart? Third or fourth, something like that. So anytime you have a guy that's like third or fourth on the depth chart and comes in and wins you a couple of games, that's immediately a guy that whenever they decide to transfer, whatever they decide to do, that's a guy that you root for, because they came in a really tough spot. And especially for the way Iowa's offense was last year, for him to come in that position and still find a way to get the team to 2 wins was really cool to see. Just that type of guy that's kind of forgotten at the beginning of the season and come in and do something like that was pretty cool. But I'll be interested to see where he goes and what opportunity he gets somewhere else. But certainly not a surprise. And then, as you mentioned, the transfer portal is just, I don't even know that I thought it would become something like this a couple of years ago when it kind of got going. I thought it was a good idea. Just with it gives people opportunities to move up from maybe a Sun Belt school to an SEC school or something like that, or someone that's highly rated can go down and get an opportunity somewhere else and try to, we all see the people with 5 stars that it doesn't work out at the first stop, they go down to a lower level and do well there, and then they come back up and play well at the Power 5 school again. So I think it does a lot of cool opportunities for guys that maybe you look back a decade ago and there's the 5-star guy that just got stuck and it never worked out. So there's good things. But certainly having to re-recruit your guys every year and have to, start looking at the portal, because Stratton's in the portal. There's going to be guys that are going to be entering the portal as the season ends here. And, Kirk's got the job of, he's trying to prepare for a bowl game because the Iowa staff and the Iowa players are not one of those teams that, we don't care about the bowl game, whatever, if we lose. That's not what Iowa is. So they're trying to prepare and get ready for a bowl game. They don't know their opponent obviously yet, but they're trying to prepare for that. They're trying to re-recruit their own guys. They're trying to look at, hey, who's entering the portal? What positions do we need to fill? It's just a crazy time of year for college football. So I hope they find ways to fix it a little bit, because it seems crazy that you're trying to re-recruit your guys and trying to look at who's in the portal while you're trying to get ready for a bowl game. And especially the teams in the playoff. You talk about getting down to the playoff semifinals of the championship game. People are already committing to schools in the portal at that point. So, it's crazy what the portal has turned into. And Iowa, I think, is going to be pretty active in the portal this year to go try to find some things.
I think they need to, because it's a big senior class, a productive senior class, and all those kind of things. The calendar's so messed up. It's like starting the playoffs in the NFL and then saying, hey, free agency is going on as well, and we can have coaching changes. Right. It's crazy that I don't mind everything that happens. And if it's going to be the way of college football, let's embrace it and do it. But if you're going to do it correctly, figure out the timing of things, where maybe the portal doesn't open till January 6 or whatever, a month later, so that you can have not this craziness going on with bowl games and everything else. So, and people can opt out of bowl games. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I don't love it, but the fact that they can actively start looking at different schools and all those kind of things is weird to me. Last thing real quick before I let you go. Is Iowa and Nebraska a rivalry? We had our post show with Tom. I don't think it is. Like, I think Nebraska's got to win in order for it to be a rivalry. You're from the eastern side of the state. I am too. I didn't care about Nebraska until 15 years ago. I just didn't care. Illinois was more of a rival than Nebraska. And for 10 of the last 11 years, Iowa's won. Is Nebraska a rivalry for Iowa?
I think so. I know if Michigan or Ohio State won 15 years in a row. Ohio State had a giant winning streak in their rivalry. No one was like, oh, this isn't a rivalry anymore. It's a rivalry. Iowa's dominated Minnesota, but I think they've won like 20 of the last 25. Yeah. No one ever says that's not a rivalry. And Iowa's, recently Iowa State's gotten Iowa, but for a stretch there, Iowa was winning a lot. No one ever said that wasn't a rivalry. Wasn't a competitive one. Yeah, no, I think there's
Yeah.
a difference between it not being a rivalry and not being a competitive rivalry.
Sure.
Those are all big rivalry games, and yeah, I mean, you look at how the fan bases go about it. I think both Iowa and Nebraska are gonna. I mean, we can say it's not a rivalry, it is a rivalry, whatever. But you look at Twitter and the way the fan bases go back and forth, and you talk about like last year with the Nebraska not shaking hands and all the stuff before the game about the midfield logo. That's stuff that happens in a rivalry. That's not happening in the Iowa, Michigan State or Rutgers is not coming up and not shaking hands with Iowa. That is rivalry stuff that happens. So I think it's a rivalry. I think it's a big rivalry. I think it's Iowa's biggest rival in my opinion. I think it's bigger than Iowa State. I think it's bigger than Minnesota. So I don't care who's winning, whether it's 10 in a row, 15 or 30 in a row. It's still a rivalry. It's a border rivalry. The fans hate Iowa fans hate Nebraska. Nebraska fans hate Iowa. I don't think the players and the coaches are very fond of each other. I think there's a respect. But I don't think Kirk likes Nebraska. I just think it's one of those things, and so I think it's a rivalry, and I think it's a big rivalry. But certainly it's for Iowa's side, it's nice when they're winning the rivalry because then you get the bragging rights for however many years it's been.
I agree with that, and it is a rivalry. I just like having a little fun with the Nebraska fans. It should be a more competitive one.
It is fun. What? It is. I mean, it is funny to bring that up though, because it was however many years ago was it when they kind of did the whole. It's not that big of a.
When they first started, I think they won the first 4 games in the series. And in order for it to be, and the Nebraska fans were saying the same thing. Well, it's not really a rivalry because we win all the time. And, yeah, absolutely. So I think Iowa fans and I had fun with it, but enjoy the fact that it is a uncompetitive rival in your favor because that makes college football a lot more fun on Black Friday as well. Kyle, we're gonna bug you maybe this week again, who knows? But next week is a big week. We got Iowa State, big matchup at Hilton Coliseum. I argue the women's one is it's a better matchup than the men's one, but we'll talk about that next week as well. Enjoy your Monday, my friend. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
All right. That is Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report. I'm talking some Iowa women's basketball, a little football as well. And he's right. It's obviously going to be a rivalry, but it's not a competitive one right now. Iowa winning 10 of 11. We'll talk more with Pat Angerer about that said rivalry and a lot more later this week when Pat's feeling better. If anybody, reach out to the big fella. His back's really bad. It's from carrying Corey Sheets and the radio group for as long as he has. So we got more to get to after the break. We're going to talk about a record-setting weekend for Rock Island basketball with Deven Marshall, who went for 53 points, the most ever by a Rock in a high school basketball game. We'll talk with him right after this. You're watching OTA on a Monday. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quantity favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quantity area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfathers is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. High school basketball season is officially in full swing, and it's been a really fun start to the season already. Some great team efforts already with Thanksgiving tournaments and championships and all those kind of things, and some great individual efforts as well, including at Rock Island High School. When you think of great scorers at Rock Island High School, you think of everywhere from Pete Michael to Monte Jenkins, Josh Elston, Tyler Hall, Chase and Randall, Amarian Nimmers, all of those, and just to name some. But there's a new record holder when it comes to the most points scored in one game, and his name is Deven Marshall, and he joins us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Deven, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I just mentioned some of. First, let's get to what happened. I shouldn't bury the lead. 53 points over the weekend in one of the Thanksgiving tournament games. Did you know at what point that it was getting up there and you were doing something pretty special?
Yeah, I think I started realizing once halftime hit that I was at 29 points in 2 quarters, which is a lot of points. So I think that's when I realized it, and it just kept going up from there in the third quarter.
Obviously, 53 points is the most in Rock Island school history. You mentioned 29 at halftime. I think it was 24 in the third quarter alone. When did you know for sure? Did you know, hey, do you remember Amarian scoring 45? Gosh, it was probably longer ago than I think. I'm making myself feel old. But did you know, or when did you know that you were close to history?
I knew my teammates were telling me and my coaches that once that I got to 40, they were like, oh yeah, okay, he's about to break the record. So that's when I knew.
What was it about that night, about that day, that was different, special? Obviously, you're a fantastic talent, having a great season, all of those kind of things. But was there anything different? When did you tell that it was going to be something pretty special?
I mean, I think kind of coming out as the first games, I think it's this excitement of a new season. But, I mean, it was just like a normal day, about to play games, but then it just turned into something different.
What does it mean to do that already in your Rock Island career? And I mentioned some of the names. I mean, obviously you'll remember the Tyler Halls, Chase and Randall, which in my opinion is the GOAT when it comes to all Quad City basketball, more or less, Rock Island basketball. Amarian we mentioned, but for old guys like me, Pete Michael, Monte Jenkins, there's some greats of greats in this program. I think it's 125 years of Rock Island basketball this year. What's it mean to have this record?
It means a lot, man. It's crazy. To be able to do this as a junior, it's surreal almost. So it's a different type of feeling.
I named some names. Is there, and you mentioned you're only a junior, but is there anybody you pattern your game off of, or you looked up to or watched when it came to Rock Island basketball or basketball in general that maybe helped you get to where you're at?
Definitely. I watched a lot of Amarian Nimmers. I think he was my favorite player from Rocky ever. So in middle school, we would always go to his games. It would just be so fun to watch him because he was really good. So I think that's the player that I looked up to the most.
You did something special when it came to a record. Your team did something special as well. They're playing really good basketball. I know the expectations are high when it comes to Rock Island basketball. We had Mark Polite on, your head coach, probably a week or so ago. What was it like to get out there? And there's buzz and expectations. What was it like to get out there on the floor and finally do it instead of talking about it?
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just amazing. Nothing could beat that.
You look at this team, and there's some new parts and some familiar faces as well. Talk about weaving it all together. What's it been like? I know you got the 2 newer guys here over the summer. So you guys have been playing together for a little bit. What's it been like kind of weaving things together at Rock Island High School?
There's been its ups and downs, but I think we have a connection that like it was just like it was quick. Like we all just connected, and as a team, it helped a lot. So our connection ability was really high.
Deven, you guys added some nice pieces, but last year was really good too. Kind of talk about building off that, because I think you were almost underlooked last year, and people didn't pay that much attention, and you guys did great things. Won a regional, I think 12-2 in conference play, something like that. What was it about last year that maybe helps you guys get ready for this year as well?
I think it's having some of our guys back from last year. We lost some pieces, but having those guys to like, we've been there, experienced it, being the underdogs. Now we got a target on our back. I think it's definitely from our guys.
Those expectations are there. Do you guys hear them? Do you talk about them? I know United Township's very good as well, you guys, but when you start talking about favorites in the Western Big Six, it's usually one of those two schools that I hear the most. Do you hear that? Do you embrace that? Do you like that? Kind of talk about those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great being like one of the top names in the Western Big Six. We definitely hear about it. We know what we like. We expect high from our team always as Rock Island. It's different. Yeah, it's definitely fun.
You mentioned growing up watching Rock Island basketball. It is a special season for Rock Island, and it's such a good program when you go to Duncan Reed and then Tom Sigel and now what Coach Polite's doing. You grew up watching this kind of stuff. What does it mean? Do you still ever like look around and go, all right, I'm at Rocky Fieldhouse and I'm playing basketball? Talk about growing up watching this program and now getting to put the Rock Island uniform on yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like knowing like you were in the stands watching at one point, watching a great basketball team, and then being able to play on that team, it's definitely crazy. It's an unreal feeling, and it's amazing.
Deven Marshall, Rock Island guard, joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. 53 points over the weekend. Deven, can you tell me about this team? Tell me about what it's like. We see it on the floor and the strengths of them on the floor. What's it like off the basketball court? You talked about things clicking right away. What's this group of guys like off the floor, maybe?
It depends on the setting, but we could definitely be serious, or we could be, we can have our fun. But I think at most times we're locked in, we're hard workers, so we're ready.
Deven, when you look at your 53-point performance, 21 2-point baskets, 8 dunks, a 3, 8 of 11 from the free throw line. Can you describe your game? If somebody wanted to give a scouting report on Deven Marshall, what would your scouting report of yourself be?
I mean, obviously, I'm going to be confident, so I think that at all times, like, I should be guarded. Like, nobody should be able to, like, I shouldn't be open on the perimeter because I'm just going to make the three. But I think my main game is getting downhill, getting in the paint, and then either kicking out or going up and dunking it.
I love it. Deven, 8 of 11 from the free throw line. That's good. That's really good. Could have been 56. Do you think about like those? You leaving those out there on the free throw line?
Yeah.
No, trust me. You shouldn't be thinking about that at all. When it comes to the Thanksgiving weekend, I want to talk to you about some fun stuff as well. Kind of ask you some fun questions. First and foremost, we just get on with Thanksgiving. Obviously, you're playing a lot of basketball, but you got to eat. Are you a Thanksgiving meal type of guy? And when it comes to Thanksgiving dinner, what's that must-have on your plate when it came to Thanksgiving this year?
I love Thanksgiving food. Personally, I don't really like turkey that much.
Okay.
So I go more towards the ham, but the main thing that I want is stuffing.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I love it. How much did you get to eat? When were your games this weekend, and did you find time to pig out in between games, if that's a good thing to do?
Yeah, I got to eat, obviously on Thanksgiving. That was probably the main time I ate, but you know, having them leftovers and the family dinners in between the games, it definitely happened. Yeah.
I love it. If you could have dinner, speaking of dinner, doesn't have to be Thanksgiving dinner, with one person in this world, who would it be and why?
I think it would be LeBron. I think he's like my biggest like person I look up to. Like he's the GOAT in my opinion. I think he's the GOAT.
Deven, we're gonna have to have a little talk. Have you watched Michael play?
I mean, like, yeah, I've seen like videos, but like I wasn't here to witness it. So I think that it honestly, like I think like 6'9", like 280. That's pretty hard.
I get you. We'll agree to disagree. I'm an old man, so I got to go MJ. But I understand. Yeah. I get where you're coming from as well. If you weren't playing basketball, and I don't know if you play other sports, if you weren't playing basketball, what other sport would you be focused on and wanting to, spend a bunch of time on?
I played baseball and football growing up my whole life. So I think if I didn't play basketball, I think I would be into baseball right now.
Were you any good?
I was pretty good, yeah.
All right. What are you playing? What are you doing? Tell me that.
I'm third baseman in center field. So, and then I was one of the best hitters on my team. So, yeah.
Okay. When you guys win a basketball game, or when you mentioned just getting away and celebrating a little bit, is there a pick to click around the Quad Cities when it comes to food? We talked about Thanksgiving meals and all that kind of stuff. Do you guys head someplace for a post-game meal, or just yourself? What's that must-have when you want to be, want to cheat a little bit, want to be an old fat guy like me? What's that must-have around the Quad Cities that you got to eat?
I think the best place to go after a game is probably Buffalo Wild Wings.
Okay. That's a lot of people say that on this show. I got to ask you the questions. Tell me you're not doing some barbecue stuff. Are you spicing it up a little bit, Deven? Just a little bit.
Yeah. You got to get half barbecue, half mild.
Okay. That's okay. The other question, bone in or boneless?
Boneless. It's
Deven,
easier.
It's just a chicken nugget. You're just having a chicken nugget.
No,
I'll let you off the hook. I'll let you off the hook. This team, you mentioned goofy and fun. You know when to not be serious. Is there a class clown on the Rock Island basketball team? Is there that guy that like always is saying something when it needs to be said in a good way? I'm not trying to make anybody look bad. In a good way. Who's that class clown?
I think it's either got to be Jeremiah Jameson or Avion Thomas.
Okay. Why is that?
They both talk a lot. So a lot comes out of their mouth. So it's definitely got to be one of them.
Some good, some bad. We'll leave it at that. I want to talk to you about your head coach before I let you go. Mark Polite is somebody I've known for a long time, doing a great job with Rock Island basketball. What has he meant, not just to yourself, but to this team when it comes to setting the tone and building the program to where it is right now?
Yeah, he's a big part of our process. I think he's the main focus, obviously. He's like probably, I think, in our opinion as a team, I think we all came to agreement he's the best coach in the Western Big Six, and there's no doubt about it. He pushes us no way any coach has, and he's definitely he was a good basketball player when he played, so he knows a lot.
Deven Marshall, 53 points over the Thanksgiving break. Is there a 54, a 55, a 60? Is there another performance like this in the future?
Maybe we'll have to see.
I love it. You got something for an encore. Well, Deven, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this. You get a lot of love, a lot of accolades. I know those weekly Player of the Week nominations and polls are out there. So everybody go vote for Deven. I think you're in all of them. I think I looked at every single one of them and you're on all of them. So go do that. Stay healthy. Have a great season. And we hope to talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. That is Deven Marshall, junior guard at Rock Island. How about 53 points? And I've covered a ton of basketball at Rock Island High School. When you talked about Amari Nimmers and how good he was, and the Tyler Halls, and I go back to Chase and Randall and those guys. And I remember growing up with and watching, Monte Jenkins and those guys and Pete Michael. There's been a lot of special performances at Rock Island Fieldhouse, and for him to beat all of them, 53 points over the Thanksgiving holiday, pretty special. Rock Island's a good basketball team. It's going to be so much fun in the Western Big Six, and we'll be covering it every step of the way. We get more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Monday. We'll be right back.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful. for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. So many great sports over Thanksgiving. Well, there was good sports when it comes to the NFL. It wasn't really fun when you're me. But anyways, there was also college football, which we've talked a ton about with Pat Anger and everybody else. But high school football was front and center as well in Illinois. Friday and Saturday state championship games. Friday went great. Saturday, not so much. Let's talk all about it with a view from the West. Greg Armstrong joining me right now. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, my friend. I don't know if I got to talk to you over the weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
No, yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you. I know we kind of talked Friday. It was more you and Mitch texting while I was walking the sidelines. But yeah, I was glad he was able to jump on and talk to you about kind of how the day played out there on Friday.
Yeah, it's funny because I may have mentioned it to him. Here's him and I'm in my little loft talking nice and warm, and he's up in the press box, hardworking press box guy. And then you're sitting here running. I mean, that's not right, is it? You're sitting here, and Casey as well, your son, killing it on the sidelines, and he's probably eating media food and hanging out.
So media food is a little, that's being generous. It was chips and free pop, so that was fine. But no, Mitch was definitely in the warmth of the press box, which I give him a hard time, but honestly, it works out really well. So we have Zach Shimdog has jumped in the View from the West team this year. So he was on the sidelines, kind of shooting video from his phone and, putting out posts on X almost instantaneously, where I was shooting video to kind of live longer term, kind of the main game highlights that'll post this week. But Mitch was up really able to live, tweet the game as it's happening. And you can see it better in the press box. You can obviously have your laptop in front of you with the stats and everything else. So I give him a hard time, but it honestly was probably the best use of all of our skill sets. And I think we killed it. I think we had great coverage, and I'm proud of the effort we put out there.
Yeah, first and foremost, you killed it. As View from the West always does. 3 people down there killing it, 4, because Casey carried the load.
Yeah.
You didn't even mention Casey. Didn't even want to give your son some love. I know you're being a little protective. I get it. As a guy who used to slum it on the sidelines at Kinnick Stadium, and now I sit up in the press box, Mitch made the right call.
Yeah.
He made the great call. Yeah, you can see things better, but you can also stay warm and all those kind of things as well. I want to talk, I guess I'll ask you, because I asked Mitch the same thing on Friday. What's a bigger story you want to talk about first? You want to talk about the games that happened, or the facts that we had something that's never happened before when it comes to postponing games on Saturday?
So I will say early in the day, when you talked to Mitch, I think at that very moment, between the 1A and 2A games, as we were hearing that Saturday was going to be postponed, I think in the moment, that was the big story. That was until Byron and Unity took the field and played their game in 3A. Then I think that became the story. I've been to a handful of state championship games. I haven't been to, every single year for 20 straight years or anything, crazy over the top. But for me, that's the best high school football game I've ever covered. Whether it's postseason, whether it's regular season, championships, that's the best game I've ever seen. There was talent all over that field, and it was 56-50 final score, and it was a defensive stop at the end from Caden Considine, and we'll talk about the numbers. We'll dive into it in a minute, but just overall the effort him and the Byron Tigers put out there, the Tolono Unity, the numbers they put up are eye-popping. We'll get into it in a minute. In a losing effort, nonetheless, but insane, just craziness, and the way that game played out. Like I said, it's the best game I've ever seen. I won't go as far as to say it's the greatest high school state championship game of all time. I'd have to look into it, but I would say on anybody's list, it's probably in their top 5 because it was a remarkable game.
Let's start there because for a Montini won, and nobody likes Montini in our area. Nobody likes Rochester. I'll tell you that right now in our area. So we'll move on. In 3A, and you mentioned it, Byron, and so I caught the end of it on television, and just watching it and knowing Byron from afar this year. I know the expectations were super high. They were really good all season. I didn't know enough about Tolono Unity to know it was going to be that good of a game. But Greg, the complaints last year were lopsided state championship games. And for the last couple of years, they've been that. Boy, this one delivered, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple lopsided results to start, this weekend. When you talk about Lena Winslow and you talk about Wilmington's wins. Now, those are all public schools involved, so a little bit different story, but still, they weren't really competitive football games. And man, it was a breath of fresh air. It was exhilarating to see Byron and Unity do what they do. Honestly, Unity had given up a lot of points last week, in their playoff games. I didn't think there'd be a chance that Byron was going to give up that many points and that the Unity was going to be able to do what they could do on offense. It was a show. I mean, both teams put on a show. It was so much fun to watch. So many records being broken that it's crazy.
I'm going to call the Constantine kid Sean. I know that's not his name, but I'm old, and his dad played at Iowa. Is it Casey?
Caden
Constantine.
Yep.
He did it on both sides of the football. Greg, he's really, and not that we didn't know that, not that it was like, oh, wow, he's good. Everybody knew that coming in. He delivered in the biggest moment and the biggest stage at the Illinois State Championships.
So he set a 3A championship game record for 367 rushing yards. He also made the defensive stop. He made the play to shut down the pass that would have tied the game with 16 seconds left on the clock to preserve the victory. So in this game, most combined points in a 3A state title game with 106, most combined yards at 1,211. Tolono Unity set a new team record with 652 yards of offense.
Wow.
Okay. Are you ready for this, though? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Their quarterback, Dane Eisenminger, had the most passing yards in a 3A title game, 541. Okay. 541 passing yards. He had 42 completions on 65 attempts.
Wow.
I would say there's half the teams in our area that don't throw it 65 times in a season.
Yeah.
And they threw it 65 times in one game.
There's smoke coming out of Jeremy Adolphson's head right now, just hearing 65 times. And they didn't throw it 65 times this year, did they?
No. Oh, no. No, not even close. So their wide receivers, obviously these kids throwing the ball to somebody. Tyler Henry tied a record for 3 touchdown receptions. Trey Hogard had a record of 11 receptions, but then Tyler Henry broke that record within the same game with 16 receptions.
Unreal.
So you just talk about unbelievable. It's one of those things. We've never seen a game quite like that, and these records really prove it. I memean, it was unbelievable. And just watching Caden Considine play on both sides of the football, he's fast, he's physical. Just that combination of what he does on a football field, man, is so much fun to watch. I'm excited to see where he ends up, at the next level, because wherever he picks and chooses to go is going to be very lucky. They're going to get a great football player.
What does that look like? That's what I was just going to ask you, because I saw his dad in Iowa City one week. I think he was there for a visit. I don't know if it's a preferred walk-on offer or if it's what the situation is at Iowa. Obviously, Dad played there, and boy, like I'm being a little biased here, Greg. I'd love to see him in black and gold, but like that kid is exactly what Iowa does. Now I know it's different because they took the number of players you can have on your roster from like 125 to like 105 or something like that. They took 20 away, which really hurts the walk-on program at Iowa. But this kid he's Brett Greenwood. He's Jake Travas.
Oh yeah.
He's Matthew Bailey. Like, I mean, he's like that kind of area guy that might not be getting the offers he deserves right now, but he's going to make an impact at the highest level in college. What does it look like? And I think December 3rd is the signing day, which is Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, you got to assume that some offers or some interest are going to come up after this game on both sides of the ball. For Considine and what he did, for this Eisenmenger, the quarterback from Tolono Unity. I mean, he was putting the ball in spots all over the field. He was eluding the rush from Byron all day long and able to like scramble out, regain his composure, and throw a perfect pass to a wide receiver. And on the other side on the other end of it, his wide receivers, man, like you put it in their general area, they're going up to get it. They're diving left, they're diving right. They're making plays. They're getting to the football. Like I said, just overall, like it was a phenomenal game to watch because of the amount of talent and the high-level execution in that 3A state title game. I will say that Dad, Sean Considine, the defensive coordinator from Byron, was probably pulling his hair. Oh, I know he was. I saw him on the sidelines. It was driving him crazy. But at the end of the game, to hear him say, like, you know, it's hard as a defensive coordinator to see that kind of number be put up on you, but sometimes you got to tip your cap and just acknowledge the greatness on the other side of the ball. It was really cool. Mitch got a picture of Caden Considine and Dane Eisenmenger, the quarterback from Unity, kind of giving each other a hug and a handshake at the end of the game. Just such a sign of respect from two programs that I think really came into the game with a lot of respect for one another. And Considine even said it in the post-game show, or the post-game press conference, this is way more fun to win a game this way and battle against an opponent down to the final whistle than it is to win a blowout. Like, it was a battle. It was a grind for both teams. It's one of those games where you hate to see a team lose, right? Because they both really put it all out there and deserved a victory in one way or the other. But congratulations to Byron. It's been fun to follow him all year long, and that game to cap it off was unbelievable, remarkable.
It's amazing because, and I'll give Greg a little credit because this wasn't his first high school football game he's ever covered. He's got, would you say 1,000? Hundreds, right?
Oh man, that'd be fun to add up. I'd have to add it up because you figure that, you know, on average, probably covering, well, it gets tricky because 9 weeks of the regular season plus playoffs, but some weeks there were 2 games in a night.
I would say 2 a night, and I would say for 12, 13 weeks. So that's 26 a year, and you've done it for how many years?
I've done it since like 2000. If you go back to college, I was covering some high school games, 2003 or 4. So
well, let's do some math and get back
years.
To me. I'm going to start doing it in my head. No, I'm doing it in my head, and I'm going to go cross-eyed. I can't do all those kinds of things, but
I'll get back to you on that. For the loyal listeners, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, my point is, like, and we've talked about it. You know us. We're high school football dorks, and we're like, oh, remember this game, that game, the Mercer County game versus this or whoever. Saying that means something. Like, that's what my whole point is like Greg's had his fair share of really good high school football. In 2A Wilmington 1, I want to talk 1A with you. Lee Wynn and the NUIC, and I mean this as fun and nice as I can. I used to not be able to stand them. And I don't mean that in the bad way, but like, I think in this area, like, it's like, oh, there's this, because, you know, for a while it was in 1A or 2A, or even 3A, 4, whatever. That Friday, we had a bunch of teams in the Quad Cities. And that's gone away recently, unfortunately. And fortunately for the NUIC, their dominance continues to grow. And I joke with you because that wasn't my viewing area. Well, guess what? It can be now. They're watching now, and I love them. So, Lee Wynn, I mean, that's the 7th state title in school history. I love it when I heard somebody say, like, they tweeted, it breaks a drought. They hadn't won one since 2022. And I'm like, that's not a drought. Like, that's not a drought. What are we doing? So the Cubs not winning the World Series in 100+ years, that's a drought, my friend. They're a really good program. They continue to do amazing things. Aiden Wild lived up to the hype again in the biggest stage. Talk about that 1A state championship game, and Lee Wynn continues to flex their muscle in the state of Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, the story coming out of the south part of the state, Brown County, was a great story. So Tom Little, the head coach at Brown County, is the brother of Rick Little, the head coach at Quincy. So the Little family there has obviously really deep football roots. And Tom, head coach at Brown County, had 2 sons on the team. He'd been there for, I think, around 20 years, never made it to the state title game. So a great story, an easy program to root for, but you really felt like this was going to be an uphill climb for them. You really felt like if Lee Wynn does what they normally do, if they control the line of scrimmage, and if Wild and Schlichting get the ball in their hands, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Hornets in Brown County. And it was. Lena Winslow really proved to be the best team in the state of Illinois in Class 1A. It might be the best team in maybe, I don't know if they beat Wilmington, but we'll find out next year. Those 2 teams actually play each other in week 2. So they'll get a chance to prove whether they're the best team in 2A maybe as well. But I just have a ton of respect for Lena Winslow. And like you said, going back to when I was covering sports in the Quad Cities area, I really didn't, interact with them all that much. That was the Rockford TV viewing area. But since jumping into the podcast, Mitch and I have really dove into the NUIC, everybody in the conference. And man, I'm glad we have, because I really have a ton of respect for what Rick Aaron does with that program, the way he leads it, and just the guys that they put in places to succeed, and just the athletes they have roll through their year in and year out. They execute at a really high level every year. It's a ton of fun to watch. And if I'm being honest, I don't think they get enough credit as a dominating state powerhouse. They might be the all-time, this might be the all-time greatest dynasty in IHSA history, in football history. And it just kind of gets, I think sometimes gets lost in the big picture because it's 1A, Everybody talks about Rochester. Everybody talks about Montini. And before that, we talked about Addison Driscoll and, Joliet Catholic, and for good reason. But Lee Wynn deserves to be in that conversation, maybe at the top of the list, for what they do and for what they continue to do dominating Class 1A.
I couldn't agree more. And it's been, like you mentioned, I used to be do this Quad City only stuff, and that's my bread and butter. But I would joke with you, it's like, get out of here with your NUIC like stuff. I don't want to listen to it. And you're right. Like you open your eyes to it and you're like, they're playing really good, dominating football, and they deserve all the credit in the world. It is funny because you mentioned 1A and 2A were blowouts, but they weren't private schools, so we're okay. Like, why is that? Like, why isn't everybody yelling and screaming right now that, like, the same? I mean, we had a really good 3A game. What was the final in 4A?
I don't know the final off the top of my head. I'd have to.
That's okay. That's
do
okay.
A quick search.
But,
we were already on the road. We were already on the road.
I don't blame you.
Montini was winning that game.
Trying to beat the weather. But why is why is it okay? That, as long as they're not private schools, it's okay.
Well, I think that the glaring obvious thing is last year you had a team in Belleville, Althoff, come in from Belleville alone. The city of Belleville's 42,000 people. You compare that to Lena Winslow, which is a boundaried school with like 7,000 somewhere in there. I mean, it's night and day difference, the areas they come from. And I think according to the IHSA rules at the time, Althoff was given that waiver, and they slipped down into 1A with talent that had been brought in from the St. Louis metro area, from around Belleville and in the greater Belleville area.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one that really stood out.
Yeah. And that, I get it. What was it? There was kids going to like five Division I kids or something like that. I totally get. I was just halfway joking when it comes to that, but it is. Yeah. They do need to get to a point where they just seed it out 1-32, so we get the best two teams playing in the state championship games. That's something that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. So we talked about it actually in the press box on Friday. that even if we had 1 through 32 seeding, the way the seeds would have fallen, Stockton and Lena Winslow still would have played in the semifinals. So you're not always going to get that, you're not always going to, it's not always going to work out that way because seeding sometimes dictates they end up on the same side of the bracket. But I think we'd rather take our chances, right, with that happening and know that we're getting at least the possibility of those best possible matchups happening down the way. I think you really see it. That Maroa Forsyth team was great. They were injured. They were missing one of their best wide receivers. And with what they do, that's huge for them. But you saw the disparity there between Wilmington and Maroa Forsyth was crazy. Now that being said, I'm not sure anybody, north or south, was going to compete with that Wilmington team. So 1 through 32 seeding may not have made a difference in that one. They were just that good. That Wilmington team, man, Byron Unity was a fun game to watch. Lee Wynn was great to see him win their 7th. But the way that Wilmington wins football games, they dominate you up front, and they have some players that are so fast. That was fun to watch.
Let me put the hypothetical out there that you can't answer because it's not going to happen, but there was a thought Wilmington might be in 3A, and then they were in 2A. If Wilmington was in 3A, do they fit with those two teams that played in the greatest game Greg's ever seen?
I absolutely hold their own in those games. I don't know if they win it. I would love to see any of those matchups. Wilmington Unity, Wilmington Byron. I'd love to see that matchup. They'd fit in just fine. Let's say that in a state title game in 2 or 3A.
You mentioned it when we talked to Mitch on Friday. It was breaking news, and the state championship games 5A through 8A were postponed, and who knew when they were going to be. Now that there's been a little bit of and it wasn't easy. I'm sure it wasn't. Now that everything's being settled and they're going to play, and obviously they couldn't play the games. You looked at what happened at Illinois on Saturday night and playing that game, and that's in Champaign, which is still another hour and a half south, and that was at 6:30 at night, and not at the first game would have started at 11, something like that.
10 a.m.
So you're playing in a blizzard, so it makes sense they had to do that, and it had to be done. 5A and 6A are Tuesday night down in Normal or in Bloomington, and then 7A and 8A are in DeKalb. Did you say on Wednesday?
Correct. At Husky Stadium. So Tuesday will be the 5A game, St. Francis versus Providence Catholic at 3:00. And then at 6:00 is Fenwick versus East St. Louis. So those will still be at Illinois State. And then on Wednesday at Husky Stadium in DeKalb, St. Rita and Brother Rice at 3:00, Mount Carmel and Oswego at 6:00. So those matchups being moved from Saturday. I think the important thing to note here is that I think this all started. I think the conversation and need the games to be, postponed started with the fact that Illinois State decided their campus was going to be shut down on Saturday. So when they shut down their campus, you got to remember that Illinois State University employees are the ones running the ticket counters. They're the ones that are running security. So I think those essential personnel at the game would be unavailable. So I think that's where it became, if the campus is shut down, the event can't be held on Saturday. It's not, the campus is shut down for a reason. So I don't know what the IHSA would have done anyway, but I know that the conversation started because of Illinois State making that decision. Now moving forward, I don't know that playing Tuesday and Wednesday are the best option, especially when you're talking Tuesday, 3:00, Wednesday, 3:00. That's not ideal, but the whole situation's not ideal. So I don't know what the options were if you were to extend it another week.
I was going to say, could you have waited a week? I asked that to Mitch on Friday, and he kind of poo-pooed me, which is nothing new with Mitch. I think he likes to poo-poo me, if that makes any sense. But I don't know if they wanted to. And I don't know, are these kids trying to get back to play? Not that basketball and wrestling don't mean anything, but you're overlapping and it's getting later and all those kind of things. My first thought was they'll play the following Friday or they play the following Saturday. It sounds like they didn't want to do anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know what the decision-making process was there. I'm not sure what went into it. Like I said, I don't know logistics, if maybe venues weren't available when they needed them on that Friday or that Saturday. But the other thing to consider is, like you mentioned, the Illinois high school football season officially ends on Saturday. So you don't really want to keep extending that season for obvious reasons, right? Like they have that hard cutoff when the state championship games were supposed to be played. So you just don't, it's not ideal to move to keep extending the season when you're talking about potential for kids in wrestling and basketball and everything else. So, the games will be played out as they, as in the order they, same order, but just in different venues. So
stupid weather, guys. Always messing stuff up. I tell you. Before I let you go, it's hard to do, but take away Lena Winslow, take away Byron, take away the state championship teams. It's been a fun high school football season. It always is. I know that the View from the West will do their best of show, so I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but is there a headline or a overriding storyline that you remember about what was the 2025 high school football season for View from the West and what you got to cover? I mean, besides the fact of the instant reacts just exploding, becoming the greatest things ever and becoming the new way to watch high school football on a Friday night. But that's besides the point. What's the headline or the vibe that you'll take away from 2025?
I mean, I think one of the headlines that stands out to me is Monmouth Roseville getting to the state quarterfinals, defeating a Bloomington Central Catholic team on the road when they were undefeated and highly touted coming into that game. I think that's one of those kind of all-time like signature wins for Coach Adolphson and for that program. That stands out to me. Looking back into the regular season, the way that Rock Ridge played week in and week out was impressive, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, just the way that those guys executed. I wish it would have ended differently. I wish it would have gone better in the postseason. But I think just in that regular season, there's something to be proud of there because they really put on a show. That was a lot of fun to watch. I think that Moline getting back to the top of the Western Big Six and coming close in a second round game, they didn't get the job done, but coming close. I think, and Geneseo on the big side, in the bigger schools. I think that's a great story. That's a game of the year potential win over Rochelle. So not to give anything away, but I'm sure we'll talk about that game as a game of the year candidate. So
I love the
those
way
are
you
kind of
answered
some
that.
of the top level.
I love the way you answered it because I said, is there an overriding headline or theme?
I know.
And you ran through the whole season in 60 seconds. No, and I'll mention Geneseo's correct because I think we'll look back in 2 or 3 years, 4 years and be like, Geneseo got rolling again. And I hate to say that. Somebody said like, hey, Geneseo football's back. And I'm like, you act like Larry Johnson didn't do a fantastic job. So like, I don't want to pump the brakes. I want to pump the brakes when it comes to like, it wasn't this like desperate despair and then but they bounced back. They had one of their better years in a few years now. And I think it's just getting started. They have to replace obviously some really good players, Jackson McAvoy, Kai Weinzerl, all those kind of things. And that's hard to do, but I know that their lower levels are good. And I think they're excited about what's going on there. And then don't you kiss up to Jeremy Adolphson. You've been anti-Monmouth Roseville from the jump. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding as well. Tell us about View from the West. What are you guys' plans when it comes to this week? Maybe a different instant react show. And then also the best of show is really, really fun.
Yes. So weather kind of derailed what we had considered doing an instant reacts podcast live from Bloomington Normal. That didn't happen because we all ended up hitting the road and beating the snow, getting back to our, respective homes. But we are going to do a live show tonight. So Monday night, 9:15, we'll go live, and it'll kind of be a hybrid, react show, but also just kind of a state championship recap. So we'll talk through, it'll be Mitch and myself, along with Kyle Kampmeyer, Zach Shimon, Logan Swan, and Matt Sertich, who are all there covering
That's awesome.
The 1A through 3A games through our, View from the West and also NUIC football. So just kind of get all of our, accounts and thoughts on what we saw that day between 1A, 2A, and 3A. And like I said, a little bit of a recap of everything. And that'll kind of wrap up the season coverage. We'll have another episode down the way, which is our awards episode, our Best in the West awards. So we'll give all that stuff out. That'll be later in December. But Yeah, it's been a great season. It's been a ton of fun. It's been fun to watch our little football community grow, and the instant reacts on Friday night has really, I think, become a staple of what we're going to do every year now. So
yeah, it's the new, and I mean, I'm not doing this to go overboard, but it's the new way of covering high school football and at a high level. The View from the West, my last plug. For everybody watching this, if you're subscribed to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo and you're not subscribed to View from the West, I don't care where you're listening from, subscribe. It's well worth it. Even if you're not like an hardcore Illinois high school football guy, if you just want to like laugh a little bit on a Friday night, go watch the show. I mean, it's a ton of fun. We have a blast, and you'll start following these teams and thinking, man, this is really good stuff as well. So, Greg, I appreciate it. I was going to say one other thing. I can't remember what it was. But I'll think about it again and we'll figure it out.
That's what you're gonna say.
Yeah. Things that I'm thankful. It was we went around the dinner table and they're like, "What are you thankful for?" And they got to me and they're like, "Matt, what are you thankful for?" And I said, "Greg Armstrong." I mean, that's what it was. I mean, that's Thanksgiving in the Randazzo household.
Were you gonna say go Bears to me at the end there?
No, I don't think that's what I was gonna. Well, look at that. We've run out of time. No, how crazy is that, man? How nuts is that?
Yeah, man, Yeah. Okay, so from your perspective, and I know you come at it with a critical eye, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Is this a game that finally like validates a little bit to like,
Yeah, of course. If I sat up here and said,
right?
like, if I got up here and said, like, well, they still have it. I mean, you're an idiot. And here's the thing, as I said last week, they've beaten two good teams, although the Steelers lost on Sunday. But, like, the Steelers were, yes, they didn't have Aaron Rodgers, and it wasn't a very good quarterback that they had against them, but that's still a first-place team at the time. And so, yes, it'd be dumb to say anything different. It's weird. Everything's, not that everything's weird, but it's just the NFL. And we've been saying it all year. Like, you watched Carolina on Sunday. They might be a playoff team. Like, if you look at Carolina and you're like, is that a really good football team? No, they got some weaknesses and stuff, but they're winning games when they count. Absolutely. Hey, I've said from the jump, although I dislike him now, his name's Benedict Johnson to me because he's a traitor. But you got the guy. I will, and of course, Greg, I'm right, because I told everybody that would listen that the Bears, it wasn't a Caleb thing. It was they would run the football. They would run the football. And I'm like, they'll fix the offensive line and they'll run the football. And dude, two rushers over 100 yards against the Eagles? Yeah. Like that's like, all you have to know. Go ahead.
Yep. I think I read or heard that it's the first time the Bears have had two guys go over 125 yards rushing in a game ever. They've never had two guys do it in the same game.
Yep.
And so that,
and you want to know the crazy thing? Here's my other prediction is that they will have new running backs next year. Well, the not the rookie. The rookie will be there.
Guy will be there.
But and it's not, I get it. And Swift is a good running back but he'll disappear on you. Ben Johnson had him in Detroit. It was Jamal Williams and Swift, and they were like, okay, we're ready to rock. And all of a sudden, everybody was going crazy because they drafted some guy named Jahmyr Gibbs, and they went and got David Montgomery and got rid of Jamal Williams. And everybody was just like, what are they doing? They were running the football. And it's like, he's not nuts in a good way. He's like, this is good, but it can be elite when it comes to these kind of things. You watch, they'll add a toy over the offseason, and you'll be like, son of a... But with that being said, I don't think I'm going to print Super Bowl shirts out yet. I do think they'll obviously make the playoffs. I'm worried about my Lions. Things are just completely different. Like, and as one thing's good, one thing's bad. Like, you can't, the things that were always going right, now you can't catch a break. So it's just one of those funky bad years, I think. So, but nobody wants to hear us talk. In fact, coming up after the break, John Marx will be with us. We're going to talk a lot more NFL as well. But, hey, I'm not eating crow because, I think I've been very fair the whole time. That, they're winning games that they didn't win before. I wasn't sure if they're going to be really good. I still don't know if they're the best team in the world. But, no, any dummy that's sitting up here today and being like, they still haven't beaten anybody, they got their signature victory. And hats off to them because not a lot of people have done it. So, all right, Greg, I appreciate you. We'll talk again real soon. Thanks, buddy.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. That is Greg Armstrong from View from the West joining us right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We already alluded to it, but it is Monday, Marksy Monday. We'll talk about the Bears, a little Illini football, some basketball, a bunch of stuff to get to with John Marx after this. You're watching OTA on a Monday. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. What a weekend it was in the world of sports. A ton to get to. You look outside and there was snow, and there's still snow everywhere. There's more coming tonight, I guess. So it gave everyone the excuse, I guess, to sit inside and watch a bunch of great sports over the weekend, whether it was college, high school stuff going on when it comes to state championships, and of course the NFL as well. So like I get to do every Monday, John Marx joins me. Another Marksy Monday to talk everything we can in the world of sports. First and foremost, happy belated Thanksgiving. I know everything was great. Good Thanksgiving for you.
Phenomenal. And it was low key, but it was the opportunity. Jack got home and got time to spend with him. And you'll laugh, but I'm the chef in the family. And I had a lot of fun with it. So
what'd you do?
Great day.
What'd you do?
I made everything. I made the turkey, the ham, all the fixings. That was me. And it's a weird.
I still remember a while ago. You can tell me when. Did you not fry a turkey in your brother-in-law's and sister's house right next door to my house? Probably 15 years ago.
I did it for a column. The paper wanted, and it was the rage at the time, Maddie. And you and Jen you might have been first or second year, and I had a buddy, John Sorgan Fry, came over, and we did the heck. Oh, it was good. But had I done that blindly, Maddie, without him and all this, it would have been the greatest column in the world because I would have burnt down your whole neighborhood.
I'm sure. You know what? No clue. You mentioned this. Jen and I are probably newlyweds, and she was much happier then than she is now.
Absolutely.
She's surviving, I guess is the best way to put it. Before we get too far into the sports stuff, I wanted to, and this is sports obviously, but the best thing I saw this weekend, and it wasn't Iowa just pasting, Nebraska once again, and our good friend Don Umlin can take off all of his Big Red stuff and everything like that. But was the fact that during the game and after the game, we found out that Aaron Graves' wife gave birth the day before at like 3 p.m. to Grayson Graves. And then he got there, they played, they won. So his week consisted of senior day, beating Michigan State, giving birth to his first son, or watching the birth of his first son, and then getting to Nebraska to beat that. The Iowa football program put together this cool little thing. I want to show it to you, and then I want to get your thoughts.
Probably the biggest news of the weekend. I don't think it's a secret, but Aaron and Aubrey Graves welcome Grayson Graves last night. You can imagine what a great weekend that is for him. And he did get a game ball. My wife made sure I didn't screw that one up. Game ball to Aaron Graves, actually to Grayson Graves.
Just like the emotions of all that in a 24-hour time span is just ridiculous. I mean, last game as a senior, getting the win here in Nebraska, wife obviously giving birth to our boy and our firstborn of our family, and just how much I love him. And I told Aubrey when I left, I was like, yeah, I'm not leaving you here in the hospital to lose. So I was like, we better win this freaking game. But
they did just that. Johnny, you're a dad. I'm a dad.
Oh.
We get so caught up with the actual football stuff itself. And I always tell my kids that, like, you're doing what you want to do and playing sports and all that kind of stuff. It all goes away eventually for everybody. And there's more important things. And I always tell my kids, you'll be a dad, you'll be a husband, you'll be all this kind of stuff. That's pretty good stuff on a Thanksgiving Friday, on a Black Friday to see.
And again, it's only a game. And that's the most important thing of it all. Did you see the KF almost getting emotional when you could see him? He started about to dab and his voice cracked a little. He knows, great dad, great person. But when they threw him the game ball, now this is why sports are important. The group that he surrounded himself with, everybody that's the biggest kick of the weekend for all of them, is they got to give him a game ball. Now that little baby's got 109 uncles. I mean, that's the beauty of team sports. I still, and I'll share this with you, and it's just a little sports analogy. Maddie, when I got to coach football all those years at Allman High School, it was a class reunion every day with some people that I have been friends with and still are friends with, but people that I cared a great deal about every day. For every day I coached, I was with the DeJagers, the DePorters, the Ebners of this world who I grew up with and from high school. And that was the beauty of it. Everybody was an Allman person. So yes, the kid's going to have more Hawkeye gear than anybody. I'm sure there's 1,000 onesies up there by now, but that's the beauty of sports. You get to learn about stories like that. But the best part about all that was A, everybody's healthy, B, football secondary, he got there in time to play, and his peers, their reaction to the game ball and to him being a dad, priceless.
Yeah. He should have an offer. I hope Grayson already has an offer at the University of Iowa. And I feel like he'll earn it before all is said and done. When it comes, he reminds me, Aaron Graves, and I don't know him very well. I've interviewed him a few times. I don't know him as well as I do Logan Lee, but he reminds me of a Logan Lee, a guy that was like, I had Logan Lee giving me advice 4 years ago, and I'm not even kidding. He came to do the grilling at WQAD, and I told him in passing, we talked a little bit about it, that I average 4 hours of sleep a night, and he got after me a little bit on set, and he was like, hey, you got to be healthy. I got some book. And then he was flying out to Ohio State later that week, and he sends me text messages with these audiobooks. And he's like, hey, I don't want to get too much I don't want to, pry too much, but when you get a chance to read these, listen to these, they'll change your thoughts of sleep and all that kind of stuff. And I responded where are you at? And he's like, oh, we're on our way to Ohio State. And I'm like, here's this kid getting ready to go play Ohio State. And he's sending me, my goofy self, a bunch of books. And that's the way Aaron Graves, married already. Logan Lee married already. Now Logan's got a kid. They remind me a lot of each other. And that's a very good thing for Iowa football. I don't want to talk a ton about Iowa football. We'll have Pat Anger on the show later this week. We also have the post-pod special from Thursday or Friday. So if you missed that, go back and check with Tom Kakert. But your thoughts on, hey, Johnny, they beat Minnesota, Nebraska, and Wisconsin 118-19. They almost beat them by 99. They did 99 points combined. Impressive performance. I kind of think it's not that big of a rivalry until they start winning. I like to say that. Your thoughts on Black Friday and what Iowa did to Nebraska in Lincoln?
One more thing. You talk about offers. Mark Johnson sent Jackson a wrestling scholarship from Illinois 2 days after he was born. And we still have it framed of all the recruiting stuff that went on. So, yeah. What I thought it was dominant. Because they countered with Nebraska until they wore Nebraska down. Offensively, they had enough weapons to make that work, and I loved it. And then kind of Iowa football took over where they just beat you up. They beat you up from your 7 technique all the way down to your 2 technique. They beat you. They ran the football when they had to. Gronowski was phenomenal in timing, throwing the football, running the football. It was just vintage. It was cold. It was windy. It was nasty. It was, only because I'm a huge Coach Ferentz fan, it was typical. I think it was a little too much scoring for him. He would rather have been a 1 score and a punt late in the game. But that was – and you don't want to say ifs and buts for candy and nuts. Your record's what your record is. But we know there was a couple football games they should have won. If LeVar Woods would have got to Jackson Marks in time, they would have beat Oregon. And again, 9-3, 10-2, you're on the verge. Ifs and buts. I understand that. I'm not making excuses. But we would have been talking about them being in the top 12 right now had things gone their way those 2 football games. But great win if you're an Iowa fan. Everything in Nebraska isn't wine and roses right now because they got physical again, and that needs to change. And I know Matt Rule signed an extension and cut all the Penn State talk out, but he and his football team needs to get better, more physical, and they're going to improve skill-wise with the young quarterback, the freshman, but they've got some work to do.
You look at Iowa too. They'll go to, I believe, the iQuest Bowl. We'll find out this weekend. Be interesting to see who they play. If they play a Tennessee again, if they play whoever it is, it'll be an interesting. Maybe a Texas. If Texas doesn't get into the playoffs, which is a tall task, but we'll know more and talk more about that next week. Hey, Illinois wins in a weird game where they finally got takeaways on defense, and it's been a while. They take care of business. They're 8-4. They're going to be going bowling as well. Johnny, 2022, 8-5, then a 5-7, 10-3 last year, now 8-4 this year. 3 seasons already out of the last 4 with 8 victories. I think it's the first time that any coach at Illinois has done that, maybe ever, when it comes to having 3. It is.
Maybe Mike White, his era, or John Malkovich before he but probably, again, 8 Illinois fans, 8-4. Okay. Started with high hopes. I know things kind of flittered. I watched Illinois the second half, most of that game, and only because I wanted to see one side empty and the other side full of stands and one side full of snow. They are still average up front on the back end defensively, and this is because you and I are Matt Bailey fans, but they're pretty good there. Northwestern is what its record. I thought it was a 7-5, 6-6 team, and Illinois was in deep trouble till the late pick, and it could have got away from it. It could end up 7-5. So regroup. They'll portal it. The neat thing about this is your in-state guys your peripheral guys, your Indiana guys, your some Ohio guys that don't go to Ohio State, the guys in Michigan that don't go to Michigan, they are still considering Illinois. There's not a better recruiter and a better salesperson of the program than Brett Bielema, aside from being a tremendous in-game coach and a perfect leader. They'll be fine. Are they going to the Music City Bowl or are they going to Vegas?
It'll be one of the two. I don't know exactly which one. I will say this. I did find it. Brett Bielema is the first head coach in Illinois history to win 8+ games 3 times in a 4-year period. The last time Illinois achieved that feat was 1901 to 04.
Oh my God.
The 04 season was coached by a group of 4 alumni, which shows how long ago it was. So,
Wow.
120 plus years since that's happened. So I get it. I get the disappointment of, hey, it was going to be this and now it's this, but they weren't that close. Iowa fans should be more disappointed because they were closer. You look at the losses and they were all really close. Illinois' 4 losses, they lost by double figures and got just destroyed in a couple games. So they weren't as close as I think Iowa was to maybe making that college football playoff. Let's switch modes and head to, real quick, college football wise, the soap opera in the SEC is hilarious. I'm enjoying it more than anything. I think we talked a little bit about it, Johnny, but they got to fix. I'm okay with all of this coaching carousel and transfer portal and all these kind of things, but the calendar's all weird. Like, if you're going to do these things, they can't start till January. You can't have your portal open when there's football. That's like opening up free agency in the middle of the playoffs in the NFL. It just doesn't happen. I think that's the biggest concern. So quickly, your thoughts on the Lane Kiffin nonsense. And then also, how about, it seems like all likelihood, Michigan State's going to hire Pat Fitzgerald. And I think that's an amazing hire for them.
Beware Big Ten. He's back. He's been exonerated from all the baloney that went on at Northwestern. Okay. He is, folks, Michigan State's going, buy your green. They're going to be good. And he's going to have more talent.
They'll fund him too. He'll have the resources that he didn't have before, which is even more impressive.
And I would love to have had, Matty, there's not a more, I have great respect for, for Coach Ferentz, Coach Bielema, a few other guys in the Big Ten. When we were in Iowa City and it was COVID and Jack was playing at Regina, our condo was by the place where the team stays, the Hyatt or the Hilton, and by Trader Joe's.
Yep.
I watched Northwestern. He got off the bus. I introduced myself. I said, look, can I watch? They had it in the ballroom of the hotel. Can I watch your walkthrough? And he said, absolutely. But the minute each Northwestern player got off the bus, he greeted them, pat him on the back, said, this is your role today. Every one of them. Yeah. It might have been because of his COVID. They were traveling with 64 or 65. And they went in there and there are coordinators. Everybody has their say, one voice. And it was phenomenal to watch him lead men in the hour I had. They ended up losing. That was a snow angel game at Iowa, I watched him lead that group of men that weren't as good or weren't as athletic as 90% of the teams, smarter, but not as good as the 90% of the guys they played. And they played their rear ends off, and they always did. Michigan State, if you hire him, the Big Ten is going to get topsy-turvy or even more.
Yeah. No,
and then as for the SEC, come on. Lane, you know what? I grew to like Lane Kiffin. I like him even more because they beat the crap out of Mississippi State, and that's the one place all these years I hated. They treated me like crap, and my wife and my son and everybody from his football team. Mississippi State fans, you're a pain. You can take your cowbells and shove them. But I love that Ole Miss. He went in there. He can have just as many resources at Ole Miss. They will bend over backward to make it. That's Eli Manning and Archie Manning.
Yeah.
They will bend over backward to have a winner. They have, and this is just an ego thing with Lane Kiffin because he can't make up his mind. If he wins a national championship, big deal. I'm so, and I like Lane Kiffin, but I'm so past all of that when it comes to that. The SEC, good hire. at Auburn, good hire at Florida. Those are guys, if you don't win 9 football games next year, you're both gone. So that's the cruelty of college football is you got to win now because of all the money that's being spent.
It's one of those things too, Johnny, where I'm very happy with the Mississippi athletic director for telling him just get out of here. Like the whole thought process of I'm going to stay and play and coach. What are you talking? It's not like if you're going to the NFL, maybe if you're a coach at Tulane and you want to stay coach at Tulane before you go to, Florida or wherever you're going, maybe, but you can't. This is the SEC. They play each other next year. Like, what do you What do you mean? I wish I could have been able to see it out. Well, then stay. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I mean, it was just, that was asinine. Hats off to Mississippi's athletic director. And once, he did. He was like, beat feet, get out of here. I don't want to deal with you. And they did a good job with it as well. Okay. We've gone too long without talking about the number 1 seed in the NFC, the Chicago Bears. I have a little things I got right and things I got wrong about the Bears, but we'll start with Johnny. You go to Philadelphia and you have 2 dudes run for 125 yards each against that defense. And Philly has issues on offense, but that defense is that defense. Hats off to the Bears for winning on Black Friday.
I might have been chewed out every 4th or 5th down by doubting Caleb Williams, still under 50% throwing the football that day. But my son pointed out to me that you can tell the makeup of a football player, quarterback, etc., gifted one, when they are pressured and they roll to the opposite side of what they are. His feet, his composure, his squaring, his chest, making something out of nothing when you roll the uncomfortable way, which a right-handed quarterback rolling left. He pointed that out numerous times, and the fact that they methodically, which is Bears-like of the old days, were happy with 5, 4, 7. Didn't try to big chunk it because the weather was pretty bad too, Matty.
Yeah.
So when was the last time a Chicago Bears team beat the snot out of somebody up front?
Yes.
It's been few and far between, and I'm starting to turn. I'm not sold 100% because I'm a Bears fan. You can't be, unless you're playing in February.
Yeah, it's funny.
But I love the fact that you've got 2 running backs. Me and Swift, I didn't think he was worth the money at all they paid, and Menange is just a dude. So it's fun to watch.
Here's the thing, and here's where I was right, and here was where I was wrong. One, I was wrong because it's a good football team. It just is. It's a good. I don't think it's a great team. It's a playoff team. I'm not as a Bears hater, I'm not worried about a Super Bowl or anything like that. And I think pump the brakes with those kind of things. But it is what it is. It's a good football team. It doesn't matter in this league who you beat. It just does not matter because you can lose to bad teams all the time. And you look at yesterday. Is Carolina a good football team? I don't know, but they just beat the Rams. It's one of those things where you got to make plays, and when you don't, you're going to lose football games, and when you do, you're going to win them more often than not. And so, yes, they're a good football team. I was right when I told everybody that would listen that when Ben Johnson gets there, he would change the running game, and that's what he wanted to do, is run the football. And no, just simply everybody was like, oh, Ben with Caleb, it's going to be amazing and he's going to become a star. No, what the first things they did, they went and fixed the offensive line and they ran the football. And that's what they did last. And I love Jackson, and Jackson has probably good points with what he's saying. Caleb wasn't good on Friday. He was 17 to 36. He's not been good in several games. I think the jury's still out on him. I really do. But it doesn't matter because they're going to run the football. That's what they do first. And if Caleb's going to be successful, it's going to be because they run the football, and that makes his job so much easier. And you know that, Johnny. If you're running the football, then your play action fake is there. All those kind of things. It opens up everything. So I'll also say this. I said this last segment. The Bears will upgrade at running back after this year. You watch. And everybody loves DeAndre Swift, and Menange is a guy, and he's doing really well. But I go back to the Lions. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift were there, and they were good, and they had a great season. And all of a sudden, Ben said, well, I want this shiny toy named Jahmyr Gibbs, and I want David Montgomery. And everybody's like, what? He took a good running back duo and he got rid of it? Yeah, he's going to upgrade that too. So good coach, good culture. They're winning football games by game plan. That was a game plan. They went out there and they said, We're going to run the ball down your throat and we're going to beat you at what you do best. I think there's faults with the Eagles and there's glaring weaknesses on that team, but take nothing away from the Bears. And that's two. Like, I do think Pittsburgh's a good football team, and not a great team, but I think they're a better than average football team. You won that 2 weeks ago. You beat Philadelphia. Now the games get really important. Bears fans enjoy the hell out of it. I remember 3 years ago when the Lions started doing it, and it was awesome to do. I still don't know about Caleb. I do not know if Caleb Williams is the answer in Chicago. People can yell at me. They can yell at me on the chat and all that kind of stuff. I know one thing, Johnny. Ben Johnson's the guy, and that's going to figure things out because that was a game plan, and he worked that game plan to perfection.
Did Jared Goff ever lend you credence to think that he could take the Lions to the next level when he became the quarterback of your favorite team?
Yeah, I thought he could.
Really?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I mean, he has.
He's
been to the Super Bowl. I mean, so of course he could be.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and he's still playing well. I mean, the Lions are just, man alive. How about Frank Ragnow announcing he's coming back out of retirement? Like, I literally celebrated like I won the Super Bowl, and then it comes to his hamstrings all jacked up, which shows how tough he is, and he's not coming back. And we can go down the Lions list of things that sometimes I don't think anybody who wants to tell me the Lions window's closed, they're crazy. No. It's just this year's not. There's ever so often, and look at the Eagles over the last 5 years. They've won a couple Super Bowls. They've had a bad season in the middle of it too. Things just don't work out the way they do. They need to. And anybody who's wondering, the Lions miss Ben Johnson. They 100% too, but they also missed Laporta. And losing St. Brown at the beginning of that game was really tough to go by. Khalif is out, all those kind of things. Everybody's got injuries. It's not an excuse. I just got to figure out a way to get that team in the postseason. I don't even know if we're going to get in the postseason, but Bears fans should be happy.
You're going to get a lot of crap if they don't.
Johnny, when's the last time Bears fans looked forward to a Bears-Packers game coming up this Sunday the way they are right now? When's the last time that this game was this important?
Was it 7 years ago with Matt Nagy?
Yeah, probably.
With Trubisky?
Yeah.
5 years, again, I think that was the last time. And but on the other side was Aaron Rodgers in his prime, or in his close to prime. So it wasn't going to work out anyway. So I believe that was probably it. Well, the last time they made the playoffs. But
no,
again, you got to pump the brakes and just inch your way in. And ease the mind of those of us that have been disappointed for so many years.
No, and I tell them all hey, in Ness guess, I picked the Bears this week. I legit did against Ness and everything. I felt like this was going to happen. I really, really did. I felt like they were good. Philadelphia hadn't impressed the heck out of me this year. The Lions went there. They should have won. Oh. They should have won. Like their defense has. Their defense has been amazing. Their offense they scored 17 points against the Lions, 10 points against the Packers.
Yes.
I mean, the Lions just gave up $1 million to the Giants and another $500,000 to the Packers, and they only gave up 17 to the. I mean, and the Dallas game, they blew a 21-point lead. They only scored 21 points in the first quarter and a half, and then did nothing after that. That offense isn't normal, and I figured if the Bears could run the football, they could have some success. But I wish I was wrong.
You picked the Bears and nobody changed the locks at your house?
No, and part of it was maybe a reverse jinx. I was hoping to be wrong. Maybe it was one of those like, oh well, I'm wrong. Ness wins again. Put the pie in my face. I don't care. I'm good with it. Hey, before I let you go, earlier in this show we talked about it with Greg, but the 5A to 8A state championship games were postponed. They're now being made up. The Tuesday is the 5 and 6A down in Illinois State. 7 and 8A are Wednesday in DeKalb. If you were the IHSA, and they really had nothing they could do with it because they were shutting down the campus. Are you surprised they're playing on a Tuesday and a Wednesday? Were you surprised they didn't just wait till the weekend and do it on the weekend? Is it getting these kids back to basketball and wrestling and the things they need to get to? Your thoughts on the postponement of the IHSA?
Well, it's the first in 51 years. And as somebody who's coached in snow flurries on that night, 72 degrees Thanksgiving one day, and then the championship game the next night, we were 15 degrees in snow flurries. This is all a safety thing. You got people driving from the Chicago area, from across the state. I love the idea that they did it. I really do. I commend the IHSA, and it's forward thinking. It was just weird to see not that everything continue. It doesn't hurt. Tuesday, Wednesday. Is Illinois State, after its first round win, does it have a playoff game Saturday? The FCS. Yeah. So that could be a home game issue. I would go to DeKalb on Wednesday night and watch football.
Yeah,
and I would go to Bloomington Normal to watch football on Tuesday. So again, you just got to get them in, get them done. But you make a phenomenal point, Matt. Half these kids are already playing basketball. I mean, the high school boys season is a full week old. Yeah. The girls season is 2 weeks. Wrestling, a lot of these kids are wrestlers. You got to get them going, and you got to get them in. You know, as football players who become wrestlers, it's time to start cutting weight. Yeah. So, but yes, I like it. I like the forward thinking, and it also allowed people. There's just a safety and a liability issue, Matt, and you want to be careful. And the fact that Illinois State University was shutting down its campus for a Saturday, that's hats off to them. This is nothing. This is just a blip, but this will give us all something to talk about for years to come, that after 51 years, they finally had to move it, that a storm forced it. So
it gave us something to talk about what was snowing on Saturday. And you know what? We complain about the IHSA a lot. I think they did a good job with this one and getting things figured out. So hats off to them. We got to give them a little credit when we blast them for other things.
Absolutely.
So good for them to get it done.
I'm just glad Rochester lost.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. And
that was a beautiful day.
Not that I love Montini by any stretch of the imagination, but good for Rochester losing. That's always a good thing in our neck of the woods. Johnny, always appreciate you on a Monday. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks, pal.
Love you, Pally. Thank you.
All right, that is John Marx. A Marxy Monday, a lot to talk about. And yes, Bears fans, I get it. You can be excited and get at me. Like I feel like I was right in a way, and I feel like I've been wrong with the Bears in a way. And so I'm going to take my victory laps on what I've been right with. And that's the running game and the fact that Ben was going to run the football. And where I was wrong is that they went to Philadelphia and I did pick it, but they did win a football game that I think most people didn't think they could. So it'll be interesting. Here we are, week 14 coming up. Is that right? 7-5. Yeah, week 14 is coming up. And the Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC. So, and I don't know who's great in the NFC. I just don't. I mean, the Rams I thought were, and they lost yesterday at Carolina. So it'll be interesting to see. Bears and Packers, we'll talk about it this week. We'll get some Chicago Bears beat writers on here as well to talk about that game coming up this weekend as well. So we got more to get to. We'll wrap up the show right after this. You're watching OTA on a Monday. We'll be right back. I said at the beginning of the show it was going to be a busy show, and it was loaded. It is past noon, so we got to get the heck out of here. So I want to thank all our guests. I want to thank Kyle Huesmann. I want to thank Deven Marshall from Rock Island. I want to thank Greg Armstrong, and then John Marx for joining me on a Monday like he always does. We're going to have a fun OTA plan tomorrow. Chad Leistico, the great Chad Leistico, will be on the show tomorrow talking Iowa and Bears and everything in between, that and much more. We'll see you guys back here again tomorrow.